Welcome to The Index, a podcast by the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime. This series delves into the Global Organized Crime Index and takes a look at some of the biggest threats facing countries and regions around the world. I'm Tinlewin. In August this year, Deputy Eulalio Lalo Gomez, a member of the Colorado Party in Paraguay, was shot and killed by law enforcement in Pedro Juan Caballero, a small city that hugs the Brazilian border and merges into the Brazilian municipality of Ponta Porã. Deputy Gomez and his son had recently been charged for money laundering for the criminal network of Jarvis Pavao, known as Lord of Drugs, who is currently residing in a Brazilian jail. When we think about the global drugs trade, countries like Colombia and Mexico often come to mind. But according to the Global Organized Crime Index, the country that sits just behind those two is Paraguay. In fact, Paraguay sits fourth globally for levels of criminality, with a score of 7.52 out of 10. Not only that, it has really high scores for illicit markets like arms trafficking, 9 out of 10, counterfeit goods, 9, cocaine, 8.5, and cannabis, 9. But then, if we look at criminal actors within the OC index, again, Paraguay scores incredibly highly across the board. For example, state-embedded actors are at a score of 9 out of 10, alongside foreign criminal actors. Overall, its criminal actor score is 8.3 out of 10. Since 2021, Paraguay has had a significant increase in criminality, climbing 12 places to fourth globally in the OC index. In addition to this, levels of resilience have remained relatively low, at 3.42 out of 10. Only 4 other countries have seen a larger increase in the gap between criminality and resilience. To discuss this, I am delighted to say that we are joined by Professor Elba Maria Gonzalez Rolon, a retired judge for the first and only court dealing with organized crime in Paraguay and a member of the GI network of experts. Elba Maria, welcome to the Index. Now, as we heard in the introduction, according to the OC Index, levels of criminality have increased quite dramatically over the last few years in Paraguay. Could you briefly explain why that is the case?
Gracias, Tim. Con relación a tu pregunta, ese notable aumento.
Thank you, Tim. In response to your question, the significant increase in organized crime in Paraguay from 2021 to 2023, as indicated by the Organized Crime Index, can be attributed to a combination of factors, including institutional weakness, growing of power of these criminal groups, and the country's geopolitical location in the region. To understand the situation and assess possible solutions, it's essential to analyze Paraguay's context and the challenges it faces in combating organized crime. Regarding the increase of the number of crimes, I believe that this increase did not scale rapidly over a short period. Instead, the situation has become more visible due to the globalization and the growth of technology. The data that is now openly available was not as accessible in the past. Previously, records were in paper format, without security protocols, and were done manually. However, public information is now shared and more accessible to anybody in digital form online, allowing us to verify and check the authenticity of the data.
Could you also describe which criminal markets are the most concerning and why they have reached such high levels?
Bien.
Given Paraguay's geographic and geopolitical location, the extremely high levels of public corruption, the weakness of institutions, the fragile border control, and the infiltration of organized crime into politics, all of these factors create a favorable environment for criminal markets. Firstly, I must mention the international traffic of narcotics and dangerous drugs, especially cocaine. Paraguay is a recipient of cocaine-based paste, primarily from Bolivia and Peru. Here in Paraguay, cocaine of the highest purity is proceeded and then sent to Brazil or the Rio de la Plata countries, Argentina or Uruguay, to be shipped in large quantities to European markets. Additionally, Paraguay is the largest producer of illegal cannabis in Latin America. There is also the international trafficking of firearms and weapons of war, which are supplied and used by criminal groups in the region.
Ilícitas.
I want to ask you about the relationship between Paraguay with Brazil, right? You were talking about Latin America just now. How much of an influence do criminal markets and actor in Brazil have in Paraguay?
Okay,
Organized crime in Paraguay is closely linked to transnational criminal networks, making it challenging to combat locally. Groups such as PCC Brazil First Capital Command and the Comando Vermelho operate in Paraguay, exerting a strong influence particularly in prison system and beyond. They have national affiliations and achieve a significant presence in our country, serving as an essential base for their illicit activities and evading local controls. To better understand the context of Paraguay's location, I must point out that the country has a geographically strategic position in South America, sharing borders with Brazil, Bolivia, and Argentina. This makes a crucial corridor for drug trafficking, arms trafficking, and human trafficking. The triple border, where the borders of Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina converge, is known as one of the most critical areas for illicit trafficking and organized crime. The porous borders and the lack of effective control allow criminal groups to operate with relative ease. Paraguay is a key transit point for cocaine, as I mentioned earlier, from Bolivia and Peru to Brazil, and the De La Plata countries to or from Europe. The presence of organizations linked to drugs trafficking in our country has strengthened this. Furthermore, the cultivation of marijuana in Paraguay significantly contributes to the financing of organized crime.
I understand that, counterfeit goods are a particular concern in the country, particularly because of the alleged involvement of high-level politicians. Can you tell me, what makes this particular illicit market so prevalent in Paraguay?
Bueno,
the presence of a significant informal economy and a low level of financial control in Paraguay have allowed the country to become a hub for money laundering. Illegal activities from drug trafficking to smuggling benefit from opaque financial systems and the use of legitimate businesses to launder criminal proceeds. The smuggling of goods is widespread in Paraguay, and there are legitimate businesses linked to smuggling activities and organized crime, further weakening the country's formal economic structure. All of these, combined with the infiltration of organized crime into politics, allows the advancement of these illegal activities through the participation of some actors in political power, who use influence peddling and the high level of corruption to provide the necessary tools for this flourishing illicit market.
Now, resilience levels are also really low in Paraguay. Are there any rays of hope that things can and will improve in the future?
The rise of organized crime in Paraguay is the result of a combination of factors, including institutional weakness, corruption, and also Paraguay's geopolitical position in the region. The importance of international or regional cooperation is indisputable. Organized crime in Paraguay is a transnational problem, so the country needs to strengthen international cooperation with other affected nations. This includes sharing intelligence, coordinating joint operations, and creating mechanisms to block illicit financial flows. Financial regulation and money laundering control are paramount. Paraguay needs to improve these financial regulatory mechanisms to control money laundering activities. The implementation of more efficient structure in specialized units related to tracing of illicit funds and greater collaboration with international banks and financial institutions could be key to curtailing the financing of organized crime.
Al crimen organizado.
Now, the last question, in your view, what are the most urgent issues that need addressing and how would you address them?
Si bien el Estado paraguayo
While the Paraguayan states face significant challenges, there are viable solutions that can be implemented, such as strengthening institutions, implemented stricter internal controls mechanisms, training and permanently building the capacity of security forces, the Public Prosecutor Office, and the specialized justice systems for organized crime and public corruption. Improvements in border control and the promotion of real and better international cooperation are also essential. It is crucial to address the underlying causes of organized crime through socioeconomic development of most affected communities. As poverty and lack of opportunities has been pointed out, the state must promote public policies that strengthen access to education and generate jobs in vulnerable areas. It is imperative to develop cultural infrastructure and economic support projects for these border communities, which are the most affected by drug trafficking and smuggling. Paraguay has a modern set of rules and a dynamic penal system, but without a real intention to enforce the existing regulations, the results in favor of crime will inevitably be permanently on the rise. I must emphasize the importance of transparency in public activities or those of general interest. The use and open access to new technologies with the constant participations of civil society in the control of state activities will lead to a decrease in the impunity of illegal acts. If the country moves forward at the level of a state, it will be possible to reduce the number of illegal acts. If the country makes progress at the level of governmental management through positive results in the implementation of continued public policies, it is a national and international society that will benefit, and in this way will achieve the reduction and, why not, the eradication of criminal groups and networks and mafias that are currently in the region and in the world to the detriment of good people.
mundo en detrimento de las personas de bien.
Thank you so much, Alba Maria, for being part of this discussion.
Gracias, Tim.
Now, for more information on organized crime, head over to the Global Initiative's website. And you can also learn more about criminality and resilience in Paraguay in the Global Organized Crime Index. Just head over to ocindex.net. We'll be back with another episode of the Index soon. I'm Tin Lewin. Thanks for listening.